My new neighbors are nice enough. They have a nice house, 2 kids, a golden retriever that sheds like it's auditioning for the role of a dust bunny. And they just keep asking me to do things. And when I say things, I mean things like coming over for dinner, coming over for brunch, coming over so we can all pray together. That their house passes a home inspection so they can sell it and move to Utah and start a new life in a different state. But they didn't invite me to this thing. They actually asked me if I wanted to join their book club. And to be honest, I jumped at it. I thought it would be like a church social where people discuss the Bible and then bring casseroles and then leave early, so they can get home in time to watch Wheel of Fortune. I figured I'd fit right in. So I went to the store, picked out some snacky foods, bought a bottle of wine, threw in a bag of ice, and headed over there thinking, I'd charm the pants off these people? It's a talent of mine. I like to think it is. You know, sometimes it backfires, but that's a risk you take with any superpower. Now, I'm not saying I knew nothing about books. I enjoy reading. I've even been known to finish an entire series in a weekend, depending on what kind of series we're talking about. But I don't read very much literary fiction. I'm more of a fantasy guy. And by fantasy, I mean magic, wizards, orcs. The only reason I read literary fiction is because my high school English teachers said if I did, I might turn into a sensitive, intelligent young man. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. So when I heard that this month's book was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, I felt pretty good about myself. I liked that movie. I also saw the author on TV once, and I was like, wow, she's not as creepy as I pictured her being. I don't know if that's relevant, but I feel like it should be. I have no idea why I was so confident, because I hadn't read the book, but I was sure I'd have something interesting to contribute during the discussion. What I didn't realize is that the author of Gone Girl is also the author of Dark Places, which I read, but that was 5 years ago, and I basically summarized the entire plot of Dark Places in a 3-sentence conversation with my wife after I finished it. So basically the same thing was going to happen again. I didn't know that, but based on my past performance in book clubs, my wife didn't bother telling me. She just gave me a hug and said, honey, I know you got this, which meant she had exactly zero confidence in my ability to hold a conversation about a book. But hey, I still wear the shirt she bought me that says T-Mom, so maybe she secretly does have some faith in me. I really hope that's the case. Anyway, I arrived at my neighbor's house full of snacks and ready to talk about a book I had read. And the first thing I noticed was that most of them had brought wine, too, which made me think, maybe this will be a little more fun than I thought. Also, I recognized one of the women from my wife's prenatal yoga class. Her kid is in my son's kindergarten class. Small world. So I went inside and we started chatting, and it was clear to me that they were very serious about this book club. I'm talking very serious. There were index cards with character breakdowns and a dry erase board with quotes from the book and page numbers and a chart where each person had written their favorite part of the book and then next to it, who killed who. And I'm assuming they were doing this with their own book, but it looked like there was blood on it. So maybe they reenact the murders from the book. I don't know. I felt like I was intruding on a secret society, and they all looked at me like I was an anthropologist who'd stumbled upon their sacred ritual, except they were annoyed instead of amazed. Then the book club leader started passing around copies of Gone Girl and said, let's dive in. I reached for the stack of snacky foods I'd brought and settled in. I was gonna be fine. I could do this. I spent the next hour looking at pictures of the food I'd brought while they discussed the book, and every now and then someone would say something like, remember when he talked about his mother making a meatloaf? I do. Remember that? That was delicious. And I couldn't help but think, yes, it was. And then I'd smile awkwardly, and then they'd look at me, and I'd be like, what? I brought lasagna, caprese salad, breads. My whole thing was Italian food. And they kept saying things like, oh yeah, like the scene where she talks about how her father used to make chicken parmesan for her, or the part where he describes how amazing his grandmother's ravioli tasted. And I was like, I literally brought ravioli. Like that was the part that stuck out to you guys. Am I missing something here? Finally, they took a break to eat and I brought my food out and set it on the table, and the looks of confusion on their faces were priceless. I was trying to be helpful and one of them asked me if I'd made everything, and I said, well, I made the lasagna and the salad. The ravioli came from Trader Joe's. But it's awesome. And then someone asked me why I brought a cookbook, and I said I didn't. This is a lasagna cookbook. I've gotten it to help me make the lasagna, and then they started laughing, like openly laughing. The woman whose husband was hosting the book club put her head down on the table and started crying. Someone else patted her husband's shoulder, and he started laughing harder. I think he felt bad and was trying to be supportive. I don't know. Then the book club leader looked at me and said, have you read Gone Girl? And I lied and said, of course I have. I just haven't seen the movie yet. And then she said, well, I guess we're starting at the beginning of the book again. Okay, now I'm definitely missing something. I think I should go. I stood up to leave, and the book club leader stopped me and said, would you mind hosting next week? And I was like, no, like that was supposed to be your joke. And she wasn't joking, she was serious. she said. Our husbands usually host, but Dave's out of town and Mark's in a witness protection program, so it'll just be the women this week. So would you be able to host? And I said, yeah, I can totally do that. I don't know what I'm gonna serve, but I promise it won't be a cookbook. Unless I'm reading a cookbook, then it might be a cookbook. I really didn't know what I was agreeing to, but honestly, how hard is it to have a book club at my house? Like I've got a couch, a love seat, and 6 chairs. Maybe I'll buy some snacks and call it a night early. It shouldn't be too bad. This is the host. I've done this before. I've hosted game nights. I've hosted birthday parties. How much different can book club be? Well, apparently a lot different. If you want to hear how that went, stay tuned. But until then, check out this video where I tried to solve a murder mystery and failed miserably. Or this one where I attended a psychic reading and learned something scary. Or this one where I got lost in the woods and had a panic attack.